Picture this. It's payday. Your direct deposit hits at midnight, and for about 6 glorious hours, you feel rich. You check your balance, you do a little mental math, and for a brief moment, life feels manageable. Maybe even good. And then it happens. The rent auto-pays, then the car insurance, then you remember you owe your friend $40 from last week. Then you grab coffee and lunch because, hey, it's payday, you deserve it. And then you check your balance again, and somehow, without doing anything dramatic, without buying anything crazy, a huge chunk of your paycheck just evaporated. And you've got 3 weeks until the next one. If that sounds familiar, I want you to know you're not bad with money. You're just missing a system. And today, I'm gonna give you one. My name is Miko, and I spend way too much time thinking about what happens to your money in the first 24 hours after you get paid. Because here's the thing. That window, those first few hours after your direct deposit hits, is where your entire financial future gets decided. If you're someone who earns a decent paycheck but still somehow feels broke by week 2, and you're tired of watching other people seem to get ahead while you're stuck treading water, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Here's what most people don't realize. The problem isn't how much you earn. The problem is what happens the moment that money lands in your account. Most people have absolutely no plan, and when you have no plan, your bank account becomes an open invitation for every subscription service, every impulse buy, every "I'll just put it on the card" moment to come and take what they want. By the time you think about saving anything, there's nothing left to save. Today, I'm going to walk you through 7 specific money moves you need to make the day you get paid. Not eventually, not when things calm down, the actual day your paycheck hits. These moves aren't complicated. They don't require a finance degree or a fancy spreadsheet, but they will completely change the way you relate to your money, possibly within the very first month. Let's get into it. Do a 10-minute financial check-in before you spend a single dollar. The very first move, and I can't stress this enough, doesn't cost you anything. It's 10 minutes of your time before you touch a single dollar of your paycheck. Here's the thing. Most people treat payday like a starting gun. Money arrives and they immediately start spending. Paying bills, grabbing dinner, transferring money, making purchases they've been putting off all week. And there's nothing wrong with any of those individual decisions. The problem is doing all of them reactively, without ever stepping back and looking at the full picture first. Think of it like this. Imagine you're a pilot. You don't just jump in the cockpit and hit the throttle the second you get cleared for takeoff. You run a pre-flight checklist. You check your instruments. You confirm your destination. You make sure everything is in order before a single wheel leaves the ground. Your finances deserve that same level of intentionality. So here's what your 10-minute payday check-in looks like. Open your banking app or whatever tool you use to track your money. Look at your current balance, not your deposit, your actual balance, because sometimes there are pending transactions that haven't cleared yet, and people get burned by that constantly. Then write down or type out 3 things. What bills are due before your next paycheck? What irregular expenses are coming up in the next 30 days? And how much of this paycheck is genuinely available after those obligations are covered? That last number is the one that matters. That's your real spending power, not the number your bank shows you. Most people never calculate that number. They just see a big deposit, feel temporarily wealthy, and spend accordingly, and then they wonder why they're broke by week 3. Now, you might be thinking, Miko, this seems obvious. I know what my bills are. And maybe you do, but knowing and intentionally accounting for it before you spend are 2 completely different things. Research from the National Endowment for Financial Education found that people who actively reviewed their finances before making spending decisions were significantly more likely to report feeling in control of their money, regardless of income level. It's not about the money, it's about the awareness. 10 minutes, that's the first move. Everything else builds on it. Number 2 is where most financial advice will tell you something like, save what's left over at the end of the month. And I need you to understand why that advice has failed millions of people. Saving what's left over is like trying to get in shape by exercising whenever you have extra energy. It sounds reasonable until you realize that there is never extra energy. There's never money left over either, not because you don't earn enough, but because money, like energy, expands to fill whatever container you give it. Parkinson's law. If you have $3,000 of available spending money, you will find $3,000 worth of things to spend it on every single time. The solution is to pay yourself first. And I mean first, before your landlord, before your car loan, before Netflix. The moment your paycheck hits, a predetermined amount moves automatically into a savings or investment account. You don't think about it. You don't decide in the moment. You set the automation up once and let it run. Here's what this looks like in real numbers. Let's say you bring home $3,500 a month. You've decided you want to save 10% of your income, which is $350. The moment that paycheck deposits, $350 moves automatically into a high-yield savings account. You now have $3,150 to work with for everything else. And here's what's fascinating. Study after study shows that people adjust to whatever take-home amount they have. If you took home $3,500 last month and you naturally spent $3,500, you'll take home $3,150 this month and naturally spend $3,150. The adjustment happens almost without you noticing it. But here's where it gets really interesting. Let's say you're 28 years old and you start automatically moving $350 a month into an investment account, earning a historical average market return. By the time you're 60, that $350 a month becomes roughly $580,000. Not because you did anything complicated, because you automated a number before you ever saw the money and then left it alone. The psychology here is powerful. When you pay yourself last, saving feels like a sacrifice. You've already spent the money in your mind. You've already allocated it emotionally. Asking yourself to give it up at the end of the month feels like deprivation. But when you pay yourself first, you never emotionally attach to that money in the first place. It's gone before your brain registers it as available, and your lifestyle simply adjusts downward by that small amount. Set the automation up once. Do it the day you get paid if you haven't already, even if it's $50 a month to start. The habit and the system matter far more than the number. Number 3 is about taking control of your obligations instead of letting them ambush you throughout the month. Here's what most people do. They pay bills as they remember them. The electric bill comes in as an email and they pay it. The streaming services auto-draft and they barely notice. The credit card minimum is due on the 23rd and they sometimes pay it on time and sometimes scramble at the last minute. This approach is exhausting, it's error-prone, and it constantly keeps you in reactive mode. What you should be doing instead is scheduling every single bill payment on the day you get paid. Every single one. Now, I want to be clear about what I mean here, because this isn't just about autopay. Autopay is great for consistent bills like rent and loan minimums. But for variable bills or for extra payments you're making towards debt, you want to actively schedule those on payday rather than waiting and hoping you remember.
Here's the move. On payday, sit down and schedule every known payment for the coming month in one sitting. Your rent or mortgage gets scheduled, every minimum debt payment gets scheduled, your utilities get scheduled if you know the amount, or you make a note to schedule them the moment the bill arrives. Your subscriptions are already on autopay, so you verify they're still active and that you actually want them. Look, that last part is important. Every 3 to 4 months, payday is a good time to audit your subscriptions. The average American is paying for 4.2 subscription services they've completely forgotten about, according to a survey by C+R Research. That's money silently draining from your account every month for services you're not using. Canceling just 2 forgotten subscriptions could free up $30 to $50 a month, which is $360 to $600 a year that you were essentially lighting on fire. Scheduling all your bills in one session on payday does something really important for your psychology too. It removes the mental overhead. You're not carrying around the cloud of, I think the electric bill is due soon, anxiety all month. You know it's handled. You know exactly what's left. And that mental clarity, that removal of financial background noise, actually makes it easier to make good decisions with the rest of your money. Here's something I genuinely believe. Most people aren't bad with money. Most people are one emergency away from financial disaster, and that fragility changes every decision they make. When you don't have an emergency fund, you make money decisions out of fear. You avoid looking at your bank account because you don't want to know. You put things on a credit card because what else are you going to do? You can't invest for the future because you're too busy trying to survive the present. The emergency fund isn't just a savings account. It's the foundation that makes every other smart financial decision possible. Here's the move. Every payday, before you do anything fun with your money, a specific dollar amount goes into a separate high-yield savings account that you've labeled emergency fund. Not your checking account, not a general savings account, a separate, specifically labeled account. The psychological distance matters. You are dramatically less likely to spend money from an account called emergency fund than you are to spend money from an account called savings. Now, what's the right amount to contribute each month? If you're starting from zero, your goal is to get to 1 month of living expenses first. Not 3 months, not 6 months, 1 month. Because that 1 month covers the vast majority of actual financial emergencies. Your car breaking down, a medical bill, a short gap in employment. 1 month gets you out of the danger zone. Once you have 1 month covered, you adjust your monthly contribution and start building toward 3 months. And once you have 3 months, here's the part that most people don't talk about. Your entire relationship with money changes. You stop making panic decisions. You can negotiate from a position of strength at work because losing your job, while stressful, wouldn't immediately destroy your life. You stop putting emergencies on credit cards, which means you stop paying 22% interest on your bad luck. A Federal Reserve survey found that 37% of Americans couldn't cover a $400 emergency expense without borrowing money or selling something. 37%. That means more than 1 in 3 people reading this right now would be in genuine financial distress if their tire blew out tomorrow. If you're in that group, this move is your #1 priority. Nothing else matters as much as this. Move number 5 is where most people's debt payoff strategies completely fall apart. And it's not because they don't care about getting out of debt, it's because they're spreading their effort too thin. Here's the thing, when you owe money on 5 different accounts, the natural instinct is to make extra payments toward all 5 of them. You throw an extra $50 here, an extra $30 there, and you feel like you're making progress everywhere. But here's what you're actually doing. You're making almost no meaningful progress anywhere. You're extending your debt payoff timeline by years and paying thousands of extra dollars in interest, and you're getting very little psychological reward for any of it. The smarter move is to pick one debt and absolutely destroy it, while making only minimum payments on everything else. This is where the debt avalanche and debt snowball methods come in. And I want to explain both so you can choose what's right for you. The avalanche method targets your highest interest rate debt first. Mathematically, this is optimal. If you have a credit card at 24% interest and a car loan at 7% interest, that credit card is the one eating your wealth alive. Every month you carry that balance costs you significantly more than the car loan. The avalanche method saves you the most money over time. The snowball method targets your smallest balance first, regardless of interest rate. Mathematically, this costs you slightly more, but psychologically, it's incredibly powerful. When you pay off that first debt completely, something shifts in your brain. You get a real win, a tangible result, an account that actually hits zero. That feeling of momentum of, I'm actually doing this, keeps people going when the process gets hard. And it will get hard. Here's my take. If you're the kind of person who can look at a spreadsheet showing you you'll save $3,000 in interest and feel satisfied with that even when the progress feels slow, do the avalanche. If you're the kind of person who needs to see a win to stay motivated, do the snowball. The best debt payoff strategy is the one you actually stick with for 2 years, not the one that's theoretically perfect. Here's what this looks like in real numbers. Say you have $500 a month to put toward debt beyond your minimums. Instead of splitting that $500 across 3 cards, put all $500 toward your target debt every single payday. What might have taken 4 years at minimum payments could be gone in 14 months. And once it's gone, that minimum payment frees up and you roll it onto the next debt. The snowball builds. The avalanche gains speed. Either way, you win.